All right, girls. So let's begin. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I hope you can hear me clearly, and I hope that we meet again in a good time when all these hardships pass. And I hope that we see each other very soon. Please stay safe. Please stay home. And today, let's just let me mute. Okay. So actually, today, if you have any question, you can write. Your question, you can drop them in the chat box. Okay, I'll read there. But today, we're going to start reading an essay from the book Space Chronicles by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, this is how the cover of the book looks like, and the title is Space Chronicle Facing the Ultimate Frontier. So here we go. This is another cover of the book which you can find in the like this is a different cover for the book. Here is about the author. Now, actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson is an American astrophysicist, author, and science communicator, as well as the current director of the Hayden Planetarium's Rose Center for Earth and Space. From 2006 to 2011, he hosted the educational science show Nova Science Now on PBS. Tyson grew up in the Bronx and attended the Bronx High School of Science from 1972 to 1976, where he was the editor-in-chief of Physical Science, the school paper, and also the captain of the wrestling team. So this is all about the author. He was born in 1958, so you can pretty much guess his age, and he is a really famous communicator. Well, the good thing about this author is that the good thing about this author is that he is a rare breed of astrophysicist, which is written about him on Wikipedia. One who can speak as easily and brilliantly with popular audiences as with professional scientists. So he can not only just speak to or communicate with a scientist only, professional one, he can also speak easily, brilliantly, and in an easy way, in an easy language to other people, to the audience who can actually understand his terms and his points. Now that NASA has put human spaceflight effectively on hold with a 5-year or possibly 10-year delay until the next launch of astronauts from US, so Tyson's views on the future of space travel and America's role in that are especially timely and urgent. Now, this book represents the best of Tyson's commentary, including a candid new introductory essay on NASA and partisan politics, giving us an eye-opening manifesto on the importance of space and exploration. Okay, so this is all about Tyson. Now, this is a little background of the the essay that we're going to read today, which is To Fly from Space Chronicles. This is, I think, it's essay number 13 or 14 in that book from part 2. The history of human flight is closely tied to the history of speed, and flying has meant setting speed records. Heavy flying vehicles like airplanes have to move very quickly in order to stay in the air, and space shuttles have to travel at a very high speed called escape velocity to get into space. So the background tells us a little bit about what we are going to read ahead. It is basically a very good comparison of, or you can say comparison, or you can say a contrast, comparison and contrast of speed and flying. How is flying related to speed, and how is speed related to flying? What do we know about it, and how do we talk about it? Now, this book is a collection of essays and speeches along with several interviews, all organized under three themes. All organized under three themes: why, how, and why not. That is the motivation for ambitious space exploration, the logistics of such projects, and the major obstacles that stymie progress, or you can say that comes in the way of the progress or hinders the progress, becomes an obstacle. Now, this is a form of expository writing. Okay, so this is an expository essay. Here, I'll explain you some of the elements of expository essay. Now, in an expository essay, you can expect to see some kind of allusions. You can expect some comparisons and contrasts, okay? And you can see some description and cause and effect. Now, what is an allusion? Allusions are basically references in a text to well-known people, or places, or characters, myths, events, or works of literature or art. So these references appear without explanation. They do not explain about those famous or well-known people, places, or myths. They just make references. Okay, they are designed to help readers make connection and expand their thinking about the writer's idea. So this is the purpose. Now, comparison and contrast. Uh, they present similarities and differences, as you know, among two or more items or ideas. By showing how one thing is like or unlike the other, an expository writing clarifies the qualities of each item. Then we can expect to read some kind of description. Here, description are the use of words and phrases that appeal to the senses. In expository writing, descriptions can help readers understand a topic by showing what something looks like, how it sounds or moves, and even what it smells or tastes like. Then we can see some cause and effect. These are relationships that show how one situation can result from another and then lead to yet another one. These connections help readers understand how or why a situation developed as it did. So these were the elements of expository essay. Now we come to the vocabulary. Now I want you to keep your books opened because there are definitions in your book of all the words that we'll be taking today. There are there are 6 words, 6 vocabs, and the first one is myopic. Now, from ick, the suffix ick, you should understand or you should know that anything that ends with ick is an adjective. Okay, for example, allergic, comic. So these words that end with ick, with suffix ick, are adjectives, and the meaning is some something that is unable to see clearly. So a quality of not being able to see clearly. Someone who cannot see clearly, someone who doesn't have a good understanding of something. He is nearsighted, like he can only see things that are nearsighted, that are close to him, that are right in front of him. He cannot. He doesn't show. He shows a lack of understanding. He doesn't show a complete understanding of something. He is not able to see things from far or to know about them or to understand them. So this is an adjective, a quality of being unable to see clearly, or someone who's nearsighted or showing a lack of understanding. The next word is foresight. Now, foresight is a noun and it means looking forward. Foresight is to look forward, somebody who looks forward, or the act of looking forward, or regard for the future. The act of looking forward or regard for the future, like foreseeing. Next word is naivete. Naivete is again a noun and it means quality of innocent simplicity. Okay, quality of innocent simplicity. It comes from the word naive, which means somebody who has no experience, who is ignorant. So, a quality of innocent simplicity is naivete. It is a quality. Prescient is our fourth word, and it is an adjective, and it means to have knowledge of things before they happen. If someone is prescient, it means he already knows about things that are going to happen in future. Next word is enable. Enable is a verb, and it means to make things possible. Seminal is our sixth and last word, which is an adjective, and it means being the first or earliest of something, like a pioneer. Now here is the essay itself, the text itself. I'll read the background, so and please keep up with me. The history of human flight is closely tied to the history of speed. Flying has meant setting speed records. Heavy flying vehicles like airplanes have more have moved have to move very quickly in order to stay in the air. The space shuttles have to travel at a very high speed called escape velocity to get into space. This was the background that I read before. Now, in ancient days, two aviators, like two pilots, obtained to themselves wings. Daedalus flew safely through the middle air and was duly honored in his landing. Icarus soared up. Soared here means to fly high or upwards, soared upwards to the sun till the wax melted, which bound his wings, and his flight ended in a fiasco, which is a failure. In weighing their achievements, perhaps there is something to be said for Icarus. The classic authorities tell us, of course, that he was only doing a stunt. I prefer to think of him as the man who certainly brought to light a serious constructional defect in the flying machines of his day. And we may at least hope to learn from his journey some hints to build a better machine. Now, I want you to please search about these two characters that are mentioned here, which are Daedalus and Icarus. Who are they? What they did? How did one succeed and the other fail? Fail. So please try to search, make a research on them. Try to at least write one paragraph about them. Now here we have the next page. For millennia, the idea of being able to fly occupied human dreams and fantasies. Like for 1,000 years, people were always wishing or dreaming to, to fly. Just let me check the chat. Miss, are you talking to me? If yes, then please write something in the chat to me instead of writing or texting each other, okay? If you want to ask me something. Okay, so for millennia, the idea of being able to fly occupied human dreams and fantasies, waddling around on Earth's surface as majestic birds flew overhead. Perhaps we developed a form of wing envy. One might even call it wing worship. We wanted wings so bad. Whenever people used to see birds flying, they just wanted to fly. So they were kind of envying their ability to fly. And since then, a human being always wanted to fly. They always wanted to have wing, and we call it kind of wing worship. We started worshiping wings. Now, you need not look far for evidence. For most of the history of broadcast television in America, when a station signed off for the night, it did not show somebody walking erect and bidding farewell. Instead, it would play the Star Spangled Banner. It would play a banner. It would display a banner. Spangled means shiny. a, a star-spangled banner, and she'll think that flies, such as birds soaring or Air Force jets whooshing by. So the United States even adopted a flying predator as a symbol of its strength, the bald eagle, which appears on the back of the dollar bill, the quarter, the Kennedy half dollar, the Eisenhower dollar, and the Susan B. Anthony dollar. There's also one on the floor of the Oval Office in the White House. Our most famous superhero, Superman, can fly upon donning blue pantyhose and a red cape. When you die, if you qualify, you might just become an angel. When you die, so you might become an angel, and everybody knows that angels, at least the ones who have earned their wings, can fly. Then there's the winged horse like Pegasus, the wing-footed Mercury, the aerodynamically unlikely Cupid, and Peter Pan and his fairy sidekick Tinkerbell. So, all in this passage, you will notice that the writer has used many examples of illusions. Okay, so he has used illusions frequently, and like he has used it a lot in the entire passage. He has made different references to people and things that we know. For example, he made a reference to Superman. He made a reference to the Tinkerbell, who can fly, who has wings. Also, Superman has wings, so he's making references to things that can fly. And also, he made reference to Pegasus, the flying horse, which is a myth. So some of them are myths, some of them are things, and some of them are places that we know, and all of them are well known. So um, this kind of way of using references or making references to well-known or famous things, ideas, concepts, places, or people or characters is called illusion. Now, and our inability to fly often goes unmentioned in textbook comparisons of human features with those of other species in the animal kingdom. Yet we are quick to use the word flightless as a synonym for hapless, somebody who is unlucky, when describing such birds as the dodo and the booby, which tend to find themselves on the wrong end of evolutionary jokes. We did, however, ultimately learn to fly because of the technological ingenuity afforded by our human brains. So we can still fly using our ingenuity, using brains, using human brains, since we didn't have wings. And of course, while birds can fly, they are nonetheless stuck with bird brains. But this self-aggrandizing line of reasoning is somewhat flawed because it ignores all the millennia that we that we were technologically flightless. So I want you to answer the question: why does the author present such a strong contrast between walking and flying? You will find this book. You will find this question on the same page on the left side. Please provide me with an answer. Now, paragraph number 5. I remember as a student in junior high school reading that the famed physicist Lord Kelvin, at the turn of the 20th century, had argued the impossibility of self-propelled flight by any device that was heavier than air. So he actually made a statement which said that anything that is heavier than air cannot fly if it is self-propelled. Clearly, this was a myopic prediction. It was a prediction that was not showing a good understanding, that showed a lack of understanding, which means that he didn't actually. Can you write the names in the chat? Okay, I will write. Just let me write the names. Daedalus and Icarus. Okay, so he said that anything that is heavier than air cannot be, is not able to fly if it is self-propelled. So, one need not have waited for the invention of the first airplanes to refute the essay's premise. Premise was what he claimed, and when there was the first invention of airplanes, they completely refuted his statement, which said that anything that is heavier than air cannot fly. So, on one merely needed to look at birds which have no trouble flying, and last I checked, are all heavier than air. So anything that flies is heavier than air. So how could he make a statement that is so naive? Like he said that he said that something should be lighter than air, which is not possible. So it was quite myopic. It was not a clear or a good statement, or not based on a good knowledge. If something is not forbidden by it's paragraph number 6, if something is not forbidden by the laws of physics, then it is in principle possible, regardless of the limits of one's technological foresight. So whatever you foresee, or whatever predictions you make, or opinions you have, as long as laws of physics allow it in its principle, it is possible. It is possible. So only if physics goes against it, then only we can have a doubt, or we can be skeptical about it, that whether something can happen or not. The speed of sound in air ranges from 700 to 800 miles per hour, depending depending on the atmospheric temperature. No laws of physics prevents objects from going faster than Mach 1, the speed of sound, which is the speed of sound. But before the sound barrier was broken in 1947 by Charles E. Chuck Yeager piloting the Bell X-1, a U.S. Army rocket plane, much claptrap was written about the impossibility of objects moving faster than the speed of sound. So people also used to say that nothing can go with the speed that is more than the speed of sound, which was later refuted by Charles E. Chuck when he flew the Bell X-1. So he again proved it wrong. Whatever claptrap was written, claptrap is all the nonsense talk that people do or write about something based on very weak background of knowledge or information. Meanwhile, bullets fired by high-powered rifles had been breaking the sound barrier for more than a century, and the crack of a whip or the sound of a wet towel snapping at somebody's buttocks in the locker room is a mini sonic boom created by the end of the whip or the tip of the towel moving through the air faster than the speed of sound. Any limits to breaking the sound barrier were purely psychological and technological. During its lifetime, the fastest winged aircraft by far was the Space Shuttle, which, with the aid of detachable rockets and fuel tanks, exceeded Mach 20, which is 20 times the speed of sound, on its way to orbit, propulsionless on return. It fell back out of orbit, gliding safely down to Earth, although other craft routinely travel many times faster than the speed of sound. None can travel faster than the speed of light. I speak not from a naivete about technology's future, but from a platform built upon the laws of physics which apply on Earth as they do in the heavens. So credit the Apollo astronauts who went to the moon with attaining the highest speeds at which humans have ever flown, about 7 miles per second at the, at the end of the rocket burn that lifted their craft beyond low Earth orbit. This is a paltry 1 over 250 of 1% of speed of light. So this is a little bit like 1 of 250 of 1% of speed of light. So imagine that was just a very small unit of speed of light that actually happened when there was Apollo, when Apollo astronauts went to the moon, attaining the highest. So it was the highest so far. It was the highest speed attained by any astronaut, which is still just one part of the speed of light, or 1% of the speed of light. So he is giving actually his support to the statement that he made. The statement he made here is that nothing here. Where's my mouse? Yes. That none can travel faster than the speed of light. So, in order to support his statement, he actually gave you some evidences. Okay, he gave you some facts, and he gave you some stats here, like this. The Wright brothers of Ohio are, of course, generally credited with being first in flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, as that state's license plate slogan. As that state's license plate slogan remind us, reminds us. But this claim needs to be further delineated, which means it needs to be further described clearly. Wilbur and Orville Wright were the first to fly a heavier than air engine powered vehicle that carried a human being. Orville in this case, and that did not land at a lower elevation than its takeoff point. Previously, people had flown in balloon. Now, before Wright brothers, people had flown in balloon gondolas and in gliders and had executed controlled descendants from the sides of cliffs. But none of those efforts would have made a bird jealous. Like these were efforts that were not pretty much exclusive or extraordinary. They were just balloon gondolas. If you don't know what they are, I'll show you. So this is a balloon gondola. There is a kind of there's a kind of boat, a narrow boat, which is attached to the lower part of it, and people used to fly it. People still fly in balloons, the new forms. And if you don't know what are gliders, here's a picture of glider. They used to fly through these kind of apparatuses, but it was still not a very impressive way of flying. Okay, so previously, so none of them were very remarkable, nor would Wilbur and Orville's first trip have turned any bird heads. The first of their four flights at 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time on December 17, 1903 lasted 12 seconds at an average speed of 6.8 miles per hour against a 30 mile per hour wind. The Wright flyer as it was called, had traveled 120 feet, not even the length of one wing on a Boeing 747, which is the name of a plane. Now, even after the Wright brothers went public with their achievements, the media took only intermittent notice of it. Like intermittent means occasionally, sometimes they would take notice of it and other aviation first. As late as 1933, 6 years after Lindbergh's historic solo flight across the Atlantic, H. Gordon Garbedian ignored airplanes and the otherwise prescient introduction to his major mysteries, to his book Major Mysteries of Science. So he actually gave us a prescient introduction. He gave us an introduction of flying, of future flights, which happened later that time. But he gave us a prior knowledge to it, something that will happen in future. So present, this is how he introduced it. Present day life is dominated by science as never before. You pick up a telephone and within a few seconds you are talking with a friend in Paris. You can travel undersea in a submarine or circumnavigate the globe by air in a zeppelin. If you don't know what is a zeppelin, I can show you a picture later. The radio carries your voice to all parts of the earth with the speed of light. Soon, television will make it possible for you to see the world's greatest spectacles as you sit in the comfort of your living room, which all proved correct and right later that time. But some journalists did pay attention to the way flight might change civilization. After the Frenchman Louis Blériot crossed the English Channel from Calais to Dover on July 25, 1909, an article on page 3 of the New York Times was headlined Frenchman proves airplane not no toy. So they were real airplanes. It was not just a toy anymore. The article went on to delineate or describe England's reaction to the event. Editorials in London newspaper buzzed about the New World, where Great Britain's insular, which means related to a being an island, or figuratively detached or isolated, something that is far away, uh, insular strength is no longer unchallenged. So because Great Britain was insular, it was an island and nobody could challenge it, because if you are an isolated island, it is difficult for the attackers to attack, for to invaders to get into it. So it was no longer a challenge because people could reach there without having to travel through sea or water. That the airplane is not a toy but a possible instrument of warfare, which must be taken into account by soldiers and statesmen. And it was the only thing needed to wake up the English people to the importance of the science aviation. All right, guys, I'll stop the meeting here because the time is over, and we hopefully will meet tomorrow. Uh, I'll do I'll do the other part of the story, and I hopefully will also try to cover the vocab tomorrow. So let's see. Uh, Anyhow, we will meet tomorrow. Thank you for coming. See you. Bye.